Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the webinar of GenAI. Today, we're exploring the topic of role prompting, unlocking persona driven interactions. So, let's begin with the basics. When we interact with the generative AI like ChatGPT, Mistral, or any other LLM for that matter, like we have DeepSeek, Claude AI, we use certain prompts or instructions or questions that will guide the model's output or response. But most people end up using a lot of generic prompts. For example, explain inflation, write an email, or summarize this particular paragraph, summarize this article. So these work, but they lack context and depth. That's where role prompting comes into picture. What exactly is role prompting? We'll try and understand. So, role prompting is a technique where we assign a role or persona to the AI before giving it a particular task. We tell the model who it is and what tone to use and who it is speaking to. So instead of just saying a simple prompt like explain artificial intelligence, I'd rather say you are a computer science professor giving a guest lecture to 12th grade students. Explain AI in simple terms. Let's now demonstrate this difference. So I'll take Gemini since I always end up using GPT. I'll use Gemini this time. And maybe here we can see the difference between the two. So the first is a generic prompt that I'm going to type, explain artificial intelligence. You can see how the response is. It's immediately generating a response, but giving a lot of theory, right? Sorry. Yeah. And this time maybe I'll also get into giving a role prompt instead, saying that you are a computer science professor giving a guest lecture to 12th grade students. Explain AI in simple terms. And you can see completely different sort of results that it would generate. This basically changes a lot of things, right? It will reset the tone. The tone becomes a lot more conversational. The complexity of the response will reduce, and the output becomes targeted and more realistic in nature. So this is how role prompting works. And why does it work the way it does? Basically, large language models like GPT or even small language models like Mistral, they're trained on internet scale data, which includes a lot of conversations, books, scripts, emails, all the social media data that you see from Reddit mostly. So, all from different roles and different voices. And when you assign a particular role, you're actually tapping into the model's latent knowledge of that particular role. So, you can also use this, for your personal things that, hey, I want to learn coding. And why don't you give me a mind? Why don't you, or rather, we can say coding, give me a path to learn Python within 6 months. Okay. Instead of giving a set path, you can also try it out. Like, why don't you give me? This time, I will say as a act as an AI professor or act as a software engineer working with Microsoft and give me a roadmap on learning Python coding within 6 months. And now this time, it is assuming the role of a software engineer working with a particular company and then giving the roadmap of Python in that sort of way. So you can see you can make the same LLM generate a different sort of response based on the kind of prompts that you give. So that's exactly the advantage of role prompting. So the first thing that we're doing within the code is, I'll show you an example of responses, right? We're importing basically from Transformers Hugging Face library, we're importing a pipeline, auto tokenizer, and auto model for casual LM, and then a torch library for intensive AI, generative AI computations. And we are bringing in a particular model here, again, the Falcon 7 B instruct model, which was trained on 7 billion parameters. And we're taking an auto tokenizer, which works by according to the prompt that you give and the kind of model that you use, it will tokenize the uh, words, right? So we're taking the auto tokenizer and then applying this with torch, and we're saying device map auto. So whichever CPU or GPU, whichever processing unit it will find, it is going to take up. So I think it is loaded the CPU, right? The generator, right? We're basically loading the text generation pipeline. We're using this model again for text generation kind of a task. And the model that we have already mentioned before is the Falcon 7B instruct, and we're taking the auto tokenizer. And the device is set to use the CPU. And you can see difference of two different prompts here. The first prompt just says explain artificial intelligence, whereas the role prompt says you are a computer science professor giving a guest lecture to 12th grade students. Why don't you explain artificial intelligence in simple terms with certain examples? Right? So it will now take on the role. And I have given a few parameters. So we'll do one thing, we'll just restart the notebook so that we can generate an output response using the 7B instruct model. All right. So we're first fetching all the libraries. Maybe I can actually change runtime type and also connect to GPU to make it faster. Meanwhile, we'll also talk about when exactly we use these role prompting techniques. So use role prompting whenever the audience matters, right? The audience that you that you want the response tailored to a specific group. For example, certain students or customers or certain executives who don't speak the same lingo as you. And so whenever the audience matters, number two, I would say whenever you want to tone or the personality itself of message delivery is important. For example, when you want to be persuasive, when you want to be empathetic, when you want to have formal replies in the business setup environment, you can end up using rule prompting. You also want to act like a domain expert, like getting legal advice, teaching math, or writing medical explanations. This would really help. Then, when you need a lot of consistency across different tasks that you perform for role play based applications or agents, for example, if you're working as if you want to end up building a therapy bot, right, a chat bot which interacts with patients, acts like a therapist, or virtual tutors who are teaching a particular subject, a particular course, or when you're automating business workflows such as email writing, customer support, or interview prep. So there is a lot of scope in how we can explore the role prompting, especially when it comes to the agentic AI agents that we can use. So I'll give you examples of different prompts across different industries, right? So if you're working for the education industry, let's say, you can give a role prompt example saying you are a history teacher guiding a curious teen. As a customer service executive or customer service industry, you can put in a role prompt saying that you are a helpful support agent for an e-commerce brand, and this way you can get the you can have consistent chatbot interactions. In the healthcare industry, you can reimagine saying that you are a doctor explaining diagnosis to a patient. This will help in counseling the patient, patient education, okay, AI health assistance, which you can build using these kind of role prompting techniques. Then, let's say in the sales industry, you can say that you are a seasoned BDR writing a cold email. This will personalize your outreach to the potential leads or prospects. Then comes the legal domain where you are a paralegal summarizing this contract. Which will this will basically allow you to simplify your documentation. And then when it comes to therapy or wellness, you can give a role prompt saying you are a mindfulness coach helping a stressed user. All of this will again help in conversational mental health support. So role prompting will transform a general purpose model into a specialist with empathy, relevance, and intent, just like hiring the right person for a job. So this is how role prompting works. And yeah, um, basically you can see here the kind of prompts that I've been given, right? One is a regular prompt, and then I have tried out with a role prompt, and you can see some sort of parameters that I have tweaked here. Maximum number of tokens talks about how many words maximum to be generated. Do you want the sample question, your prompt itself, to be printed? We're saying true. We're giving a temperature parameter of 0.7. So we've been discussing temperature parameter, top P, top K for a long time now. The greater the value of temperature parameter allows the model to be more diverse. Lower the value of temperature parameter makes the model very deterministic, kills all the creativity, right? Will keep it focused or relevant to the sort of data that it's talking about, right? It will not allow for creative thinking. So this is it about role prompting. We can meet again and probably we'll discuss a few more prompting techniques in future. And at the end, we'll also compare all the sort of prompting techniques that we have covered till now, like few shot, zero shot prompting, chain of thought prompting, react prompting, self consistency prompting. There are plethora of prompting techniques available, and we will just summarize them, talk about their advantages, disadvantages, and maybe then try to understand. Right here, you can see the response for the regular prompt that which says explain AI, explain artificial intelligence. The output says artificial intelligence is the simulation of human intelligence by machines. Okay, it's giving some simple example. But when I'm giving a role prompt saying that you are a computer science professor who's giving a guest lecture to a 12th grade student, explain it like you would to a 12th grade student, right? So then it simplifies these terminology and it is talking about it makes machine think like humans. It involves programming machines to perform certain tasks, problem solving, etc., etc. It's using a simpler language, simpler terminology. So this is exactly how role prompting will improve or help you tailor your responses according to the audience. So this is it for the role prompting. I'll take you through our YouTube channel. So since you're already joining the live page, um, I know that you're aware of our channel, but I would also like to take you through our success stories and a couple of things, right? Uh, we have a lot of alumni who have recently joined huge man companies, and they are the ones who are getting trained on, who got trained on Gen AI, and different sort of techniques like this, right? So having the knowledge of the latest of technologies is pretty important. You can see here the playlists that you can go through. We have Ankita, who got placed at ENY, Sai Kirti got placed at Deloitte. So not just one person, we have plethora of alumni who've been working with us. All right. You can always check out their success stories. You can also head over to our official website of 360digitmg.com to look into this same thing. We have a lot of resources on our official webpage. You can also look into success stories on our official webpage, all the courses that we offer, how we help with students' placement, right? You can get into all of this on our official website. So, again, thank you for joining in again. We'll meet again on next Wednesday to discuss a lot more exciting things on generative AI. Thank you.